Good morning, everyone. We are back, and I'm actually in the office today, which feels a bit surreal, filming our podcast. Now, we have Yvonne here from iThink 365, which is going to be a really exciting and I think a bit of a different podcast to our usual, actually. So it's so lovely having you on. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. So, obviously, for those that don't really know much about yourself and your background, what is it that you're currently doing at the moment?
So I head operations and growth at iThink 365. I'm the only non-technical person there at
Yeah,
the moment. Yeah.
amazing. Okay. So obviously your journey into the IT world, have you always been within, I know you're non-technical, but have you always been within the IT sector?
No, my background is accountancy. So I was an accountant for over 20 years.
Wow.
Um, I owned a really successful practice in Greater Manchester for 11 of those years, and then decided to come out of the industry in 2020.
Nice.
um, for lots of different reasons. But to be honest, I was a bit of a technophobe then. If someone would do it
Really?
for me, I'd rather them do it. Yeah. I used software and I used the basics like Excel, Word, but
Yeah.
technology was just a bit of a no-no for me.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. So my background's very, very different, but I absolutely love tech. I should have done this many, many years ago. Got into tech.
Okay. And how did you get into I think 365, sorry. How did you sort of fall into it?
So, cutting a very long story short, I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2022, and I also split with my husband at the same time. And I
Okay.
moved, I moved over to Yorkshire, and I just happened to meet a friend who I knew, and he put me in touch with Simon, and the rest is history. Really, we had a phone
Oh,
call.
wow.
We met in Leeds, and he offered me the job. The job didn't actually exist, so I sort of came into the job. It wasn't there. It was sort of, I've had to sort of grow into the role.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That is really interesting actually. So it's sort of a very well-made role for you because there wasn't one that you had to mold to, I guess, which is always good. And I know with I think 365, I can't say it when I spit of a tongue twister when I go to say it. With that company, just for everyone who is watching, if you were to sort of describe what they do, what is it that they do as a company?
So we're Microsoft Gold partners, and we specialize in pretty much everything Microsoft. We're a small team, but we have three sort of sections to us. So we have Power Platform, we have a consultancy department, and we have a development department.
Yeah.
We've also built quite a lot of products, but yeah, but it's we work with customers who are either starting their journey with Microsoft
Yeah.
or they're already sort of way into their journey with Microsoft.
Oh, lovely. I know if you guys don't follow Yvonne already, you post a lot of updates, don't you, about the new techs and stuff. And
Yeah,
I mean, you have a lot of, I feel like you've grown a lot of passion within the IT area
massive.
now, which is so
Yeah,
funny to hear that you were never involved, like
yeah.
you didn't want to be part of it in the first place, which is so funny because obviously with yourself, I know you were saying about your ADHD. So obviously being being diagnosed at such a late stage in your life, do you feel like that was quite hard for you or
Um, yeah, I mean, I think when I look back now, I can honestly say my life would have been so different had I known years ago that I had
yeah.
ADHD. But everything sort of, when I found out, everything fitted into place, and it answered a lot of questions. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's so since I've been diagnosed, actually, life's got a lot easier because
Yeah.
I understand myself far better now than I did in the previous years. I understand my behaviours. I understand what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and there's sort of a reason. I think when you have a reason for something within you, it
Yeah.
just makes it easier. But yeah, I mean, I think if I'd had an earlier diagnosis, my life would have been extremely different.
Yeah, because I guess even by just knowing it's easier to communicate to other people like your work environment,
Yeah,
why you may do things differently, or how things work well for you, etc. So how do you feel it actually affected you in a professional environment?
Oh my God, over the years, I mean, ADHD's given me so many challenges. So,
Okay.
anxiety, memory. So, I could be literally having a conversation with someone and completely forget what I'm talking about mid conversation. But
Okay.
it's not that I forget it, it's because I've got 20 other things going on in my brain at the same time.
Yeah.
So, something else people pops in, and that sort of disappears.
Yeah.
Um, Overworking, hyper focusing. And when I had my own
Right.
business, I used to do that all the time, where I'd work maybe for 12 hours non-stop and just literally work, work, work. I wouldn't have a break. But that's part of having ADHD. Procrastination, that's probably another huge, huge thing. I'd leave things to the last minute because I just procrastinate constantly, all the time.
Yeah, it's weird you say that. We actually had a lady who worked for us, I think maybe a year or so ago, I think, and she was diagnosed with ADHD, and obviously it can affect people differently, but
Massively.
I think she's probably quite similar to the way you're describing it, where you're either hyper focused or it's that full end of the other scale, flip it over,
Yeah.
procrastination, brain fog, can't do it sort of environment for her as well. So yeah, I do. I I understand how it can affect you, but I guess it's quite hard for others to know if they haven't got it themselves. So
Yeah, and it's just that organisation. I never seemed to be like fully organised, and then that would cause anxiety. So
yeah,
everything that happened had a knock-on effect.
yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I know I know you said that coming into the tech world has actually helped with your ADHD as well. So
Yeah,
how has that actually done that? Because it must. I'm really interested to sort of know more about it. Because
I
yeah,
think when I first came into the tech world, it terrified us. Absolutely, I was scared of everything. But then I was given all these different tools that I'd actually had access to in the past, but I'd never utilised, I'd never used them. But
okay,
obviously, because I was working for a company that is Microsoft sort of to the core, everything we do is Microsoft. So I was given all these things to sort of use, and over time, I've started utilizing those tools, and it's literally changed my whole life. It's changed how I
really.
work. It's changed. I'm so efficient. I'm so productive now in comparison to what I was because of the tools that I've got in front of us.
And what type of tools have you been using? Like, if you could pick a couple just to sort of explain to us what it is you use, what are they?
So my biggest one is Planner. I use Planner.
Really?
Planner literally has been a godsend to me. It's a game changer. I use it for everything because if I don't, say you asked me to do something now, Lucy, unless I did it now, it would literally go out of my head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I'd probably wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it would pop back in.
Yeah.
So with Planner, I have about 6 buckets for different areas of my job role, and everything goes into Planner. So Planner's been a real game changer for me, massively. And
Ah, I've definitely I was just
and
gonna say I've definitely
Copilot,
seen it.
yeah,
Yes, you were gonna talk about Copilot, which I guess is a bit more of a recent advancement, isn't it? So
yeah.
how has that helped? For people who may not know what Copilot is, how would you explain it?
So Copilot, I'd say it's like my best friend. It's like my little assistant at work. And I call her Claudia. I don't call it Copilot. I call it Claudia. So things like if I'm in a meeting, when I used to be in a meeting, I would have to write everything down because I'd completely I'll have forgotten it by the end of the meeting.
Yep.
Whereas with Copilot in meetings, it transcribes everything, and then at the end of the meeting, it'll give me a summary. It'll give me the tasks of what I need to do, what the other person needs to do, and that for me is huge. It's massive,
Yeah.
absolutely massive. So I can be completely present in a meeting now. So I don't have to worry about, oh, I need to write that down because I need to do it at the end of the meeting because Copilot does it for me. And then with my procrastination, so say I've got a really long document I need to read and I need to sort of summarize it. I can get Copilot to do that now. and it'll summarize the whole document for us. Or if I need to, say, do a PowerPoint presentation and I've got the information in a Word document, that's the sort of thing I'm very capable of doing it, but that's the sort of thing that would make me procrastinate. Whereas
Yeah.
Copilot can do that. And I'm not saying it does it, I would never use it where I would just do it and then send it. It gives me a framework. It gives me that sort of start that I sometimes need.
Yeah. I find it so interesting talking about all of this because I feel like a lot more people are going to relate to this than they think.
Mm,
Like, I know everyone says that everyone is on some sort of spectrum, whether it's very minor or obviously more high scale, etc. And I mean, I've grown up with different diversities as well. My little nephew, he's autistic, so I've
mm,
never had that before, and learning those different traits as well. Like, it's nice to know we're sort of going into a future where tech can assist with stuff like that. If you think about kids in schools, now, if
yeah,
they've got obviously I know some schools still do slides upon slides and stuff like that, but being able to have, as you say, Claudia or your
yeah,
Copilot that can summarize things or write the notes for you
yeah.
instead of having to focus here, there, and everywhere. I do think it's amazing. I know some people are worried about the advancements of it and where it's going to go and all of this, which of course is going to be a worry because it's the unknown.
Mm,
But when you've got these things happening that are helping people like yourself, I think it's so good, if I'm
yeah,
honest with you. And I know someone's commented saying 3 a.m. is definitely a time I know well, so they must be
yeah.
in the same boat of waking themselves up with stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it is, and it's terrible, but it's actually debilitating when it happens all of the time. Because
Yeah.
I mean, pre sort of diagnosis, before I was on meds, I used to wake up sometimes 5, 6, 7 times in the night, and just
Oh
because my
wow.
brain would literally switch on and it would just be full. But I don't. AI doesn't scare me. I see it as I see it as like an advance. It's tools. I don't
Yeah,
use it. It's not going to do my job for us, because I think we all need that personal touch, and I like to put a personal touch on things like my emails and my messages. And
of course.
AI doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
And and you can't trust it, so you have to sort of read it and make sure that and put your sort of own twist on things.
Absolutely. If it's used correctly and in the right way
Yeah,
at this moment in time, I think it's so useful. Like, it has so many benefits. So yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And obviously, if you had any advice to anyone coming into this industry that may be in the same position as you and have a difference such as ADHD, what would your advice be to them?
to be honest about it. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of people hide the fact that they're neurodiverse. I was it was very difficult for me, because this was the first job that I had after my diagnosis, and I wasn't sure, should I tell Simon, should I not tell him? And I literally
yeah,
told him, like, the first conversation I had with him. But I think if you've got a supportive company, like for me, I like to start work early because I'm best in the morning. That's when you get the
yeah.
best out of me. So it's about being flexible. It's about employers being flexible with the staff, but it's about honesty as well, and being sort of open about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a big thing nowadays, which I think everyone says, oh, it's like post-COVID. And yeah, it probably has been a bit more eye-opening, and we should have been like this beforehand. But
Yeah,
as you said, the flexibility of a work start time or a work finish time,
yeah,
people don't work in the same robotic time of hours in the day, do they? And I don't know why it's taken us this long to realize, but like you said, you like getting up early, and if that's your optimal time
yeah,
and you can do the best work in that area of time, then great. For me, I probably am not an early bird, so I probably
yeah.
would be a bit sluggish in the morning. But
Mm,
like, yeah, I think it's good that we're finally starting to have those companies that are on board with this new way of working, because as we said, we're not robots. Everyone works differently, and it's what's going to be get the best out of your employees work wise.
Definitely. And don't be scared of using what you've got in front of you. I think a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize the tools that they actually have. And that was me, to be honest. When I had my own business, we used Microsoft. I didn't have a clue all the things that came with it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's about sort of finding those tools and finding what works for you. So things like Viva Insights, that's another a really good tool for me, because
Okay.
it sort of plans I've sort of planned my week. I plan my week with it. So I put my focus time and I put my breaks in, because if I don't put breaks in, I don't have them. Because and it reminds me. So
Ah,
it reminds me because I get that focused on something, time just passes you. It just goes, and people that are neurodiverse will fully understand that. Whereas with Viva Insights, it'll send me reminders constantly. It's time to have a break. It's time for focus. It's time for lunch. And sounds very basic, but again, that's massive for me.
absolutely. It's having those time blocks, isn't it? And making sure you get
Yeah.
those breaks. I think, to be fair, I haven't even heard of Viva Insights, if I'm honest. And
I'll have you
I
not.
I've worked with Microsoft for God knows how many
Mm,
years, and I probably am not optimizing it, which I think is that's why it's so useful to get the word out there about what there is. Like that
yeah.
the Microsoft Planner I've definitely come across, but I've never gone into it to be like, how can it help me? And I know I like planning stuff. I'm one of those
Yeah.
type of
Oh, you
people. So,
love planner.
well, I'll definitely be
Yeah.
talking to you after this about how to
Yeah.
set it up properly.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely good to get the words out about what there is to help everyone. Like th- there is so many things in tech, and I think it's just becoming more clever and a bit more savvy
Yeah.
as the years go on, which is good. Um, I know someone's just commented, I find it hard finding time to experiment with new tools when in the long run you know it will benefit you. So that's that would be a good question then, Yvonne. So how how did you find the time to explore these new things like Planner, etc.?
I suppose because of the role that I do, I was just given them, and I was sort of like, because we work remotely as well, it was very much like, here's these tools. And I suppose at first I was a little bit, I wasn't kicking and screaming, but I was very much a paper, like, write notes everywhere,
Yeah.
put things in my diary. But it was Simon, he sort of encouraged me to use Planner rather than
Okay.
having like hundreds of diary notes in my calendar. And actually, once I started to use it, it saved me so much time. It literally saves me hours and hours of time.
Wow.
It's so worth it. You've got to. I think anything in life, you've got to put the time in, don't you? If you want the
Absolutely.
benefits, you've got to sort of look. You've got to just do it.
Absolutely. So I guess for Selena, who's commented, take maybe a couple of hours to learn these texts because in the long run, you're going to get back those hours, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if you've got any other questions, Selena, we will feel, we'll try and answer them afterwards. But one thing that you did mention is obviously you work remotely.
Mm,
How how do you find that would, because in your previous role, were you in an office or were you hybrid?
in the office.
So
No,
how
we've
have you
got.
found
I love it. I love working
really?
remotely. Yeah, it really suits me as well because it's quiet. I can just get on. Um, I, I think again, technology really helps with that because we have Teams meetings. We have a stand-up meeting every morning, so we get to see the whole team every day.
Oh, nice.
And I use Viva Engage as well. So we all use Viva Engage as a company, so we communicate really well. And I think it's about it's making that an important part of your days, communicating with your colleagues while you're working remotely. And we've really done that well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you feel with your ADHD, remote working actually would suit you better, would you say?
It really suits me better. I'm not saying that would be
Yeah.
everybody, but I still do like that human contact. So it's about it's about making sure that you still have that with people,
Yeah.
even though there's a screen between you. Like, I often have catch-ups with my colleagues at work, and it's just like when you go for a coffee break, I suppose, and you
Yeah.
work in an office, and I'll ring David, and we'll just have a chat for 10 minutes. And it,
Yeah.
it's about making the time to do that as well. It's really, really
Absolutely.
important that we do that. We also have a couple of away days every month, so we go into Leeds and we all meet up, and that's really nice. I wouldn't want to do it any more than that,
Yeah.
but that suits me. Yeah, and I think the rest of my team would definitely agree with that as well. Everyone sort of. I think if you make that time to sort of catch up with people at work remotely,
Yeah.
it's really, really much needed.
Yeah, I would agree because obviously I'm the first remote worker in my company. So obviously
Oh,
I
really?
relocated. Yeah, so I'm now up in Newcastle and I'm such a social butterfly. Like everyone was panicking, like, are you gonna be okay working
Yeah,
remotely? Like, how is it gonna be? And do you know what? It's worked quite well. I know Helena, who's sat opposite me, if I'm having a bad day or just need a bit of human interaction or anything, I'll call her, have our little
yeah,
girly chat, which is needed because we would do that in the office over a cup of
yeah,
tea, as you said, and then we'd move on. Nico, my boss, we've got a 4 p.m. call scheduled every day, so we can talk about my day. If it's been a bit rubbish, we can turn it. He'll give me tips on how
yeah.
to turn it round and stuff because it is hard adapting. I've only done it the past 3 months, I think. So,
Okay.
obviously, hearing how you guys do and it's worked for you makes me feel a bit more optimistic about the future of remote working.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
it's
mean,
so
you have to.
important.
You've just got to make it work, don't you? You've got to make it work for yourselves, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, with I think 365, just for everyone else who doesn't know too much about the company, this year and onwards in the future, have you guys got any plans going forwards or anything going on?
Yeah, so we've just launched our Connect HR products. So we've
Oh,
been
wow.
developing them for the last sort of 12 months. And we've built some amazing products actually. And I'm really passionate about these because I think as an ex-business owner, I can see how these can really help businesses. So we've built a sync product which can sync with HR platforms, and it integrates straight into Microsoft and syncs with that. We've built a leave application, so that's really cool as well, and
Yeah.
some adaptive cards, which is all about, for us, it's all about people and engagement and looking after. I think a lot of companies, if you look after your staff, you retain them, so you're going to
Yeah.
save money, and it's key. It's really important to do that. So we've built things like a birthday card app that sits on Microsoft, and a work anniversary one. And it's about that communication and collaboration for remote workers. It's really important that we do celebrate people, even though they're behind a screen and you don't see them every day. It's important to do that, and we're very passionate about that. So yeah, so we've got these products that have just been launched in the Microsoft store, and yeah, and we're carrying on with that.
Absolutely. I think that's so nice. I don't think I've heard of a Microsoft partner that the core of all your work is people and
Yeah,
other
that's completely
businesses
it.
people.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's so cool. And if you guys are interested to know more about Yvonne's products that she's just spoken about. Obviously, I know you post a lot on your page, but also the iThink 365 page. Drop them a follow and have a look. Says all their recent advancements, etc., which I always look at because I
yeah,
find them interesting. Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously, the half an hour has flown by with you. I think I could talk to 4 hours, sorry, to you. Um, I think it's quite nice because I don't think it's a topic that's still widely spoken about in the IT
mhm,
industry, I would say, especially with ADHD, Copilot, how we can use them, etc. So I think it should be quite eye-opening to a lot of people, because it has been for me, and I think it's something that should be spoken about more, to be honest. And
definitely.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know, annoyingly, it says LinkedIn user on the comments instead of a name. I think it might be Mark. Yep, There we go. Mark said that it's also useful knowing that you need to finish a meeting 5 minutes early, so 55 minutes instead of 60 minutes, to allow you to refresh, grab a drink, freshen up, etc. So I feel like a few people who have maybe been around an environment with someone like yourself would have a few tips as well. And it's nice to share these. I must admit, like I've got loads of comments coming in. This is a very lively live. Um, David said it's true. You do ring him. It's a good 10-minute reset. So that's always nice. And then we've got, is it Mark again that's commented saying, I've worked remotely for 5 years. I love it. I treat it as an office. At the end of the day, I close the door and travel to the rest of the house,
Yeah,
walk around the block. The office is closed until the next day. I love the trips to meet with colleagues as it makes it special and worthy. I think, yeah, I
totally
think
agree.
it's just the new way of working, isn't it? I think it's so beneficial if done right.
Definitely. And I think for me, I have a routine. So routine for me is key. And I
Yeah,
take my dog Walter out every morning, and that's my commute to work. So we go out, and then on the way back, I sort of see that as my commute, because as soon as I get back, I make a drink and I have an office. I come into my office and I work. I
yeah,
don't, I'm not one of these people that sits on the sofa with my laptop on my knee. I couldn't work like that. But then at the end of the day, I shut the door and work's done. And again, that's
yeah,
very important for me being neurodiverse, because if I didn't work like that, I'd be working every hour God sends and my head would never ever switch off. So it's about having it's about being quite strict with yourself, but
yeah.
all these tools are not just for neurodiverse people. Like everybody can use them and utilize them, and I think it can help everyone.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point to end on as well. Everyone's different. Everyone can benefit from different things, and it's just finding the right tools for you, isn't it, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and utilizing them as you said. So, I don't know whether there's any final points you want to wrap up on. But if not, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Really, really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, well, thank you. I just wanted to say thanks for having me, and yeah, it's nice to sort of get it out there about neurodiverse, because it's not a disease. It's just we're just a little bit different.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, we will see you all next week. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank
And if
you.
you've got any questions or anything like that, of course, feel free to drop her a message and follow her on LinkedIn. Have a
Thanks,
lovely day,
Lucy.
everyone. No worries.
Bye.
Bye.